Welcome everyone to this event run by the Indigenous Studies Discussion Group at the University of Cambridge. Thank you for joining us both in person and online. We are excited to host our fourth and final event for this term as a research network at the Center for Research in the Arts, Social Sciences and Humanities, also known as CRASSH. We are grateful to CRASSH and the Cambridge Heritage Research Center for their support for this group. This is our first hybrid event, so I hope you will sort of excuse any kind of technological glitches that there might exist. Hopefully there won't be any. We've tried all the technology a couple of times, but let's hope for the best. So just to introduce the ISDG a little bit, we started as a student-led initiative in 2019 with the objectives, one, of promoting scholarship by and about Indigenous peoples across disciplines and spaces to be a regular feature of the intellectual life of Cambridge, and two, to promote the sharing and discussion of insights and perspectives relating to Indigenous studies across peoples, disciplines, times, and geographies. Today's event is a screening of the movie Birth 1871, and this will be followed by a discussion with the director. We're very happy to have with us today Dakshin, who is here today virtually. Dakshin is a filmmaker, is a director, author, activist from Western India, the state of Gujarat. Dakshin is a founder member of the Budhan Theatre Group and is managing director of Nomad Movies Private Limited. The proceedings for tonight will be as follows. So Dakshin will preface the screening of the movie with a few brief opening remarks. Then we'll watch the movie. This is a link that we'll be sharing in the chat very soon. And then once the movie is screened, the movie is about an hour and 1 minute. Dakshin will rejoin us and the online audience can rejoin us for the post-screening discussion. And as the audience questions come in, Dakshin will have some time to reflect on the movie, and then we can have a small Q&A session. All in all, I don't expect that this will last more than 2 hours, but we will sort of take a sort of call based on how many questions there are, etc. And Dakshin has been kind enough to say that he'll be with us the whole time. So just before I turn it over to Dakshin for opening remarks, just some safety information for people who are joining us online today. So please keep your microphone turned off. The event is being recorded. So please keep in mind that you can choose to keep your cameras on or off as you prefer. By remaining in the room, you consent to this proceedings being recorded, and the recording will be available on the CRASSH website and on the ISTG YouTube channel soon after the event. During the question and answer session, if you'd like to ask a question, please use the chat function, send a message to the chat, and we can read out the question, or you can unmute yourself and then ask the question yourself. We've enabled captioning for the event, which will be available on the recording as well. But the captions are provided by Zoom, so CRASSH takes no responsibility for the accuracy. And rest assured, you'll be able to revisit the event on YouTube. We are trying lastly to promote an inclusive environment for this online event, and it goes without saying that all attendees are expected to show respect and courtesy to the speakers and each other through the event. So with this, Dakshin, I will hand it over to you for your opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Nishant. Hello, everyone, and good evening. I'm very happy to see you all here. I think film will speak itself. So I'm 100% sure that the film will raise so many questions, and I will be happy to respond. But I just wanted to share that when how this thought came up to make this film. When I was studying in University of Leeds in 2010 and 11, I met Professor William Gould. He's a professor of history at University of Leeds, and I always wanted to make the film because, on one confusion which, occurred me since long, and that confusion was that what exactly the history of the denotified tribes is. Because the kind of narratives I had since my childhood and in my community, uh, those are very different than what the colonial uh, documents says, or the formal history says. So it was very, I was very curious to understand what is the formal and informal history of the denotified tribes, because Baba Sahib Ambedkar, who written a Constitution of India, he said that the community who does not have a history, they don't have a present. So I think it is very important to understand the history, and that is the reason I made this film. After the film, I will be here and I will be happy to respond to you. Thank you very much and enjoy the film.
All right, thank you very much, Dakshin. And I've just posted the link to the movie in the chat box. So those of us who have indicated that they'll be only joining us online, I've already emailed the movie link. So we'll start screening here and then sort of reconvene at 6:15. So just about an hour and some minutes away, UK time. So thank you so much, and please do enjoy the movie. Thank you. All right. So thank you so much for joining us for this session. I think this might work better with the camera zooming in. I think. Yeah. Right. So for all of those who are in person and online, like please feel free to post your questions. I was wondering, actually, if you'd like to use this opportunity while people are posting or thinking about questions to reflect on the movie.
Sure. I think before I respond to the questions, I mean, if people can write actually on the chat box, that would be really great. Because I have difficulty to understand British accent, so you may also help me, Nishant. I think to understand the depth of the issue with the denotified tribe, or you say ex-criminal tribe, because since till 1990s, these tribes were mentioned on the government book as ex-criminal tribes. But after 1990s, they were called denotified tribes. The communities who were notified as a criminal tribe, now they are denotified. So, I mean, this term is also derogatory, but the recent incidents says that this act is still haunting to the people of this country, to the denotified tribes. I mean, the recent example, if I say on 16th, 15th November, um, there was an incident. Police arrested 5 young men from the Chamtha community, CHAMTHA. Chamthas are like forest dwellers, and right now they are living in a very small town in Gujarat, where of my state. They were arrested for the very small, stealing case, and they were brutally beaten up for 3 days. Ideally, as far as law, police have to produce them in front of the judge within a 24 hours. But for 3 days, they were brutally beaten up. And I wrote a letter to National Human Rights Commission. Second day, the first day they were arrested, then second day they took action. They called to the police officer. Police officer denied that he didn't beat them. Finally, somehow we succeeded to get the bail of these all 5 young men, and we got the videos and photographs of those boys of, I mean, the injuries, on their skin, on the back, on the butt. That was horrible. But this all young men, when the magistrate asked them that, did the police beat you? They said, no, police did not beat us. And the reason was that police threatened them that if you will say to the judge that we have beaten you, or torture you in the police station, then there are 150 cases, theft cases, 150 pending theft cases. We will book you under those 150 theft cases. Now 150 theft cases, getting bail in each case, I mean half of the life, you will be just going, to the police station and to the district court. So such kind of things are still happening. In 2018, where I live, I'm a national award winner, filmmaker. I got 3 international award. I am a National Human Rights Commission awardee. But despite that, I was also brutally beaten up by the police in 2018. And not just me, but my community people, more than 200 people at midnight at 2 o'clock on 26 July 2018, brutally beaten up. I mean, they, um, they came in, more than 405 policemen, and they raid on our locality, our ghetto, and they just, broke the doors and windows, and people were just shocked what is happening, and they just picked them outside, and they brutally beaten up to me, to my colleague, to the elderly people, to the children, women, young girls. And since 26 July 2018, today it is 24th November 2021, we are unable to file the case against the police. We are still struggling in the court, in the lower court, to file the case against the police, because police department clearly denied us that they will not register case against the policeman, because it is about their department, and you should go to the other agency to file the case against the policeman who brutally beaten up to you guys. Now other agency means court, and court is taking such a long time. So 26 July 2018, 24th November, today we had a date. We had a hearing in the Metropolitan Court, but that is still, they are just delaying, and nothing is happening. This is the scenario of denotified tribals in this country. There is no reservation. There is no constitutional guarantee for their development. And there are no strong policy, no strong laws to protect their human rights. So that is the condition. So I mean to say that the Colonial Act 1871, when it was created in 1871, but that is still haunting to more than 8 crore people. 800, how many people in millions, Nishant? 8 crore people? It's 800 million, right?
I think so. I'm not.
Yeah, 80 million. Yeah. So this many people are still treated as born criminals. And that's the scenario. I will be happy to respond to your. So I just wanted to give you the current scenario, whatever is happening here.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much. Would any of you have questions that you'd like to ask, perhaps? Or,
Yeah, I'll ask the historically, especially in the sort of late 19th century under the colonial rule, was there more of kind of a nomadic movement and a promotion of settlement policy?
Can you help, Nishant?
yes, so from what I understand, the question is that, so in the late 19th century, was there a greater emphasis on settlement of nomadic communities? Is that what
Yeah, basically, let me explain my question. Sort of from what I understand, this is an assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, the sort of the tribes in the late 19th century, at the time of the enactment of this 1871 Act, where, you know, there was some kind of a nomadic element. So they were kind of free to move, and, you know, it was part of their, perhaps, you know, be it their livelihood or sort of, you know, there was this nomadic kind of element to their existence, their way of life, or form of life. Was there later kind of, you know, crowd and settlement promoted, or because this must have, you know, this must have caused some sort of a loss of culture, perhaps loss of, you know, so I just wondered, I think my question is quite simple, sort of, has there been a change from nomadic to settlement over the years from the late 19th century, since 1871?
Yeah, I mean, what I in my opinion, and whatever I read, that British were from the sedentary society. I mean, you know, Britain had also travelers communities, and the sedentary society always habitual to look at the people who are on the move, you know, as suspect. The similar way, the British also, you know, look at the nomadic tribes of India. I mean, there are so many nomadic tribes still there in India, specifically in the northern part and western part, and not just in the British India, but in even today's India, in my state, in some part of my state, when police see the nomadic tribe, they, they, they just call them at the police station and tell them that whatever amount of time you are staying in our area, you have to daily come to the police station and, you know, just prove your presence. I mean, they have to sign the register or something. I think the another reason, you know, to look at the criminal, you know, nomadic tribes as a criminal tribes were Caesar Lombroso's theory, criminologist, European criminologist, Caesar Lombroso's theory, eugenic theory. I think theoretically, in 1876, he proved theoretically that there are, you know, the criminality can be hereditary. I mean, if my father is thief, then I will be also thief. If my father is carpenter, then my son will be also carpenter. So that kind of theory, it theoretically proved that, and in Indian context, it is a very known that, you know, doctor's son will become a doctor, engineer's son will become an engineer, and criminal's son will become a criminal. So I think, you know, the Indian traditions, perceptions, and the European eugenic theory, they both, you know, match here. I mean, you know, by the British, actually, that is the reason that, you know, understanding the Indian context and understanding the theory, European theory of the eugenic theory, I think that is the reason they created this act. And I think the another reason, which is very well known, because they primarily came for the taxes, not to rule, right? Later on, when they found that Indian kings are idiots, most of Indian kings are idiots, that is the reason they thought that we should rule, and they decided to rule on the country. But primarily they came for the taxes, to collect the taxes. These people, nomadic tribes, were not the taxpayer, and still they are not taxpayer. I mean, where I live, that entire community, they don't pay taxes at all, because they are not legal residents of that particular land. They are owner of the houses, but they are not owner of the land. And this situation is across the country, everywhere, all this state. So I think, I don't know whether I have responded perfectly to your question or not, but that is the my response.
So I think to sort of perhaps clarify one aspect to the question, so I think it also dealt with whether there has been some sort of a loss of culture or a loss of heritage, perhaps, which the movement from nomadism to a forced settlement has created. And could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, obviously, I mean, people who were nomad, they carry a lot of cultural things actually with them, their language, their songs, their traditions, their rituals. Uh, uh, I mean, if I say about my tribe, the Chhara tribe, who are still treated as a hardcore criminals. I mean, if you come here, you will see the policemen always, round up in my community. Uh, we lost almost everything because of the sanitization in the settlements, because people who were arrested the criminal tribes act, they, you saw in the film that they used to keep into the different settlement. So people who are free to move here and there, if you just kept them at one place, I think they lost their love, worldview, and they lost their everything, whatever they were carrying with them, sharing with each others, and roaming here and there. I think I that is the reason that most of denotified tribals community, they have adapted. I mean, they forgot their own language and they have adapted the local mainstream language, Marathi or Gujarati or Hindi or whatever in the state they are. But this generation, and I mean my father's generation, they started to lose this all cultural aspect because of the Criminal Tribes Act and because of the keeping them for long, for so many generations into the settlement. I mean, we had so many good, absolutely fantastic songs. That is what my grandmother used to tell me. They used to sing the song on the stage. Right now, there are no songs at all. I mean, nobody knows.
Right, right. I noticed so even during in the movie that there is a sort of song that's being sung when the railway tracks are being dug up, I believe. There is either a deity, a god which is being invoked, or a song that's being sung. But hey, thank you for that sort of response. I hope that sort of addresses your question somewhat. I was wondering, so you actually had the opportunity, I think, in 2014 or 2015 to physically be, I think, exactly in this same room to screen this movie, I think, when.
I did, yeah. I did, yeah. It's the Alison Building, right? It's the Alison Building.
Yes, that's right. This is the Alison Richards Building where.
I've been there. And I think it's the same crash course, and I was invited there, and I had good discussion there.
Right, right, absolutely. So I was wondering, so given the length of time that's passed between 2014 and now, do you think that things have changed a little bit, or if not, then why do you think that perhaps things are not changing fast enough? If you could speak to that, maybe.
No, in fact, things are getting not better but worse with the DNDs. I think one of the reason in this country, I mean, constitutionally, every individual is important. Every individual has their own rights. But I think denotified tribals still not able to be a political masses. I mean, they are not able to come together and raise the voices against whatever is happening with them. For example, I'm giving you, there are two schedules, I mean, social groups, scheduled caste, who used to be, treated as untouchables, and still that is the problem happening with them, and the scheduled tribe, Adivasis. But denotified tribes, since long, I mean, since 1998, I mean, since 90s, they are demanding either third schedule for their development. I mean, that is a constitutional guarantee, uh, which state's supposed to give. Because you saw in the film that it was a horrible mistake by Ambedkar. I mean, today we were discussing I mean, I saw so many people were brutally beaten up in Chhara. And honestly saying, I can't do anything. I mean, except I just inform to the National Human Rights Commission and when they respond. But by the time the atrocities and the torture already happened on the people, we don't have any law to protect. So for that, we need the constitutional guarantee for our protection and for our development. Instead of that, I mean, instead the state should give at least something, at some extent, the constitution guarantee to this 8 crore people of the country. Right now, what is happening that state government and central government are there wiping out the reservation. They're wiping out this constitution guarantee. Even scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, whatever they had right now, that is also being very difficult to get the rights from the government. It's a very complicated issue, but since 2014 to 2021, I can say that things are getting worse, not getting better. And the only reason is that still denotified tribes are not a political masses. They should come together. They should raise their voice in different states or centrally. I think then only, because masses are important in this country, not individual or not, one or two communities issues. That's unfortunate situation, but that's the reality.
Right. Would any of you have questions? Sure. I mean, I can sort of continue. Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Just on that, is there any kind of update, or what is the kind of most contemporary situation with the theatre that it kind of ended with? How's that kind of continued to grow?
So I think that the question is, if I'm not sure if it was clear enough to you, Dakxin, but yeah. So I mean, the question from Claire, I think, was about the theatre and what is the role that it's played, and has that sort of continued to grow in the last few years? And I mean, feel free to like type it in.
Yeah. It's about Budhan theatre, right? Yeah. I mean, I must say that, we have performed more than 1,800 shows till date, and it's third generation across the country. And we have shown our shows to the member of parliament, member of legislative assembly, MLA, to the ministers. And what happened actually, theatre played a very key role, because I remember that in Ahmedabad, where I live, nobody used to come in this area. Nobody. I mean, people, when they pass from my community, they just speed up their bike or their car because they thought that, these people will rob us. I can see that through theatre, we could bring that kind of change, that now people don't consider us as hardcore criminals. And the reason, because theatre gave us a different kind of identity. The theatre we do, it's a mainly street theatre. And I believe that this theatre art among the Chharas is a genetical art. Because like our forefathers, like my father was a great thief. And I saw him, how he used to steal, things from the people. Now we have a modus operandi that we don't hurt the person when we go for the stealing. We distract him or her and take the whatever we want, from him or her. I mean, that is a modus operandi. Now that required you extremely well, well trained. Yeah, I mean, a good level of training, of expression, language speaking, different kind of language. Because my father's generation, they used to steal in different states, not in Gujarat. They used to steal in Kerala, in Kolkata, and they had to learn the different languages. So when my uncle died, we saw in his cupboard, there were 12 different dresses, costumes. He had state costumes like Kerala, Andhra, Karnataka, Kolkata. It means he used to know 12 languages. Such a brilliant person. I mean, maybe the society call him thief. For us, he was not thief. For us, he was great actor. So we have used this stealing art, uh, for the socio-political change. Today, Budhan Theatre is the most active community theatre. It is considered as the most active community theatre in the country. And I mean, we have performed how many? I think more than 52 plays and 1800 shows. Third generation is performing still. And the one of the finest thing happened because of theater is that it become the bridge between the two extremes. I mean, we were living very aloof in a dark age kind of area, no electricity at all. And the mainstream society, very bright, you know, uh, all the facilities they have, and this and the system. The theater developed the bridge between them and initiated the dialogue. So the now state also knows the what are the issues of the particularly Chharas and the denotified tribes. Day after tomorrow, on 26th November, we have a Constitution Day. I mean, on 26th November, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, he, I mean, the people of this country, they given the constitution to themselves. They adopted the constitution, and that is the day we celebrate. On that day, more than 15,000 people, just because of the Bodhan Theatre, more than 15,000 people from different districts of Gujarat, they are coming together first time. Again, I'm saying now they become a political masses to raise their demand for the constitutional guarantee. And that is all done because of the Bodhan Theatre activities.
Thank you. Yes, so I was also wondering, so I mean, the film itself has a very rich collection of primary sources, and I'm wondering what perhaps the archival sources were, where you got the photographs and also sort of the text that you showcase in the movie. Um,
Yeah, Professor William, and some of the, when I was in Leeds, I got a small scholarship at uh, British Library in London, and obviously where you are, this Alison building also has the South Asia archive. So we collected the many photographs, old photographs from that archive. We also did a lot of research in Bombay archive. So Bombay archive has all the reports. We have seen a lot of text. I mean, we collected so many archives material from there, and we could show a few. But Bombay archive has still this all settlement report of the different settlements. The biggest settlement was in the Solapur, and rest of the settlements were small. But I think the biggest settlement where thousands of people were kept at one place. So these were the main archives, and yes, obviously Salvation Army archives. So they kindly gave us permission to access all the documents, click the photographs, and use it in the film.
So I guess like a last question from my end, unless someone else has any. But I mean, I'm hoping that many others will watch this recording and also like access the movie later on online. But just in terms of so being based in an academic institution and this sort of being the platform for it, what do you think should be sort of research priorities that you think that denotified communities would want academics to look into or want researchers to look into, both from within the communities as well as external researchers? How do you think that might work?
No, I mean, that's a very good question, Nishant. And I think uh, I strongly believe that, I mean, we have a lot of research, academic world has a lot of research, a lot of data. It is printed in the journals. Uh, it is good for the universities. It's good for the, individual researchers. I think it is important to negotiate based on that data. It is important to negotiate with the state, not just particularly in the context of the denotified tribe, but I think whatever the research area we have. Sometimes because I have seen in last 25 years that people have done a lot of research, but those research are never reach to the governments. And if, for example, they post to the government, or if this they courier, the such kind of report to the particular department, there are no follow-ups. I mean, it is, as an academic, it is our responsibility that if we are exploiting, for example, the data of the particular community, I think it is our responsibility as an academic that, at some extent, at a little bit change should come out of that research, for that community, because when we are working on the communities, they really have a lot of expectation, really a lot of expectation. And they think that if something is happening, this survey is happening, the person is writing, person is taking his interview, maybe some, change will take place. So I think it is important, the connection, to establish the connection between the research and the government agencies, strongly, so things can work for the communities who are voiceless, who are not able to raise their voice in terms of scientific data to the government.
Right, thank you. And yeah, if you have any concluding thoughts, but if not, we can sort of close the session for today, given that we're nearing time. Um, would you have any final sort of observations or thoughts that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy. Thank you, Nishant, first of all, and your entire, team, and 20 CRASSH 2001, 2021 for, again, screening this film. Um, um, I'm, I mean, why I made the film? I mean, that is the question. And I not just birthed it in 71, but I made so many films. We recently produced 30 episodes, 20 minutes episode on the different issues of the nomadic and denotified tribes, what happened during, with them during the corona. Because in the mainstream society, in the mainstream media, they don't have a space. They don't have a voices at all. I mean, nobody write actually about them. So we decided to develop our own media center, and we decided to document our own stories, and let's, put it on the web, and let's go. So I think it is the film birth 1871 and the other films. I will be more than happy if you have a good context in India with the policymakers, and if you can share this film with them, and if they can come up and some change can come actually, and this film can become a cause, for that change, I will be more than really happy, because we are making films, we are making theater, and things are happening at a very small scale. But I think it's so many years, 75 years of the independence, and people are still waiting, to resolve their issues, the basic, very fundamental issues, and we need your help. So you may, as academics, you may write to our government to solve this problem based on the data, or maybe based on this film. You can share this film with, in your group, and they can write actually to the government. I think one day things will get changed if voices from all over the world will come together, and our policymaker will sensitize to do something for the denotified tribes. I think that is what I just want to say my concluding remark. And I'm really grateful. Thank you very much for coming to watch this film. And Ahmed Bhai, Oliver, thank you so much. Nishant, thank you.
Yes, no, thank you so much, Dakshin, for taking the time out. I know it is very late in India, but yes, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with us and having the film sort of shown here again. So just in conclusion, so this was the last sort of event that we had for this term on the theme of indigeneity and criminalization. So this was the theme that we had chosen for this term. But in the next term, our sort of events are around the issues of the myth of extinction of indigenous peoples, and we'll be having a lineup of panel discussions of events around that, which will be starting from the next academic term. But thank you so much for joining us today in person and online. And this being our first sort of hybrid event, I hope that you will sort of forgive us for any kind of technical glitches. But we've just posted in the chat our sort of links. So if you'd like to sign up to the mailing list or follow our previous events on Twitter or YouTube, those will be available. But anyway, thank you so much for coming this evening, and have a good night and have a great evening. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you, Nishant.